Today, it's going to be a good one. We are going to do a deep dive and get hyper focused on ADD and ADHD. We are going to talk about what it is, how I went undiagnosed for 38 years, and then I'm going to give you it's a cluster of symptoms, and I'm going to give you 6 different symptoms that you could experience because maybe you're undiagnosed and have ADD, or maybe you have a loved one who has ADD and is undiagnosed or maybe even diagnosed. I'm going to just give you all the symptoms, and then we are going to talk about the 7 different types of ADHD. That's correct. There's not just one type of ADD, and there's not just one way to treat it. So I'm going to talk to you about all of that. I get the information directly from Dr. Amen on his website, and I'll talk to you guys about how not only myself, but my daughter Lily and my son Hudson, we all got SPECT scans at the Amen Clinic, and I'll talk to you guys a little bit about that. And yeah, we'll just have some fun, and then we'll do a part 2 episode where I share how to cope with ADD and ADHD and how to make it your superpower. And by the way, I'm going to share audio from the actual point in time with my doctor where I was diagnosed with ADD. So let's do this. Welcome to the Obsessed or Not Interested podcast. I am your host, Mindy Wender-Querio, and I'm a small town go-to girl next door who is obsessed with helping others see more for themselves so they can thrive in all areas of life. I love researching all the things like wellness, mindset, relationships, you name it. If I'm obsessed with it, I get hyper focused on it and I research the crap out of it, and then I share it with you. If those are things that you're also obsessed with, then keep listening and let's become new best friends. Okay, so if you've been following me for a while on social media, on Instagram, you know that my daughter Lily has autism. And I did a whole podcast episode sharing her journey when she was diagnosed. And again, if you've been following our journey, you've seen all the things that we did to help her. I mean, one time, well, first of all, it was, I don't know, I want to say in like 2017, maybe. We flew out to California together, just her and I, and we went to the Amen Clinic where she got a SPECT scan, and there was tons of other things that went into that. But I shared that whole journey. I took videos and I put that up on our stories. I made posts about it because my thing is I want to share our journey and what we're doing so then you guys can follow along with us to see what's working and what's not. So through that journey, though, what I realized and through having a child on the spectrum is maybe I'm not broken. Maybe I'm not stupid. Maybe I'm on the spectrum, because when it comes to the spectrum, it's very, very broad. So I'm like, I've always kind of known that I have ADHD and I would joke about it. But at the same time, I couldn't explain. I didn't know how to cope with it well as a kid. I knew that I was not a good student. I knew that I wasn't a straight A student, but then if I had a goal in mind, which was not be grounded so I can go to parties and be social with my friends, if I had a goal in mind, I could do anything because I could get hyper focused on the reward I would get from getting the good grades. But like school itself was boring to me. And so I had to be very interested in a topic in order to excel in it. And so when I started my business about 15 years ago, I remember my family and people around me were like, yeah, we'll see how long this lasts. And I took offense to that at the time, and I questioned myself. But that honestly is because I have ADHD. So in the past, I would only go all in on something and stick to something if I was interested in it and really obsessed with it. Hence the name of this podcast show, Obsessed or Not Interested. Tell me you have ADHD without telling me you have ADHD, your podcast name. That's me. So that was basically me my whole life. And so I can't really blame anybody that thought I was just like, this is like on to the next, typical minnow. Again, that's my nickname. What's going to happen? So I can't even blame anybody for thinking those things. You know what I mean? And so I was very interested in a few things. Wellness. I had just before getting pregnant with my son Lane, I had just got really hyper focused on working out, and not like in an unhealthy way. It's just that prior to that, I was like lazy, not lazy. It's just like I wasn't interested in working out. Like, not for me. I'm fine. And then once my mom bought my sisters and I all this thing for Christmas, it was called Turbo Jam. And I tried it and I was like, oh my gosh, it's like, wait a minute. Working out doesn't mean running on a treadmill like I see all these other people at my college gym were doing. It was called the PEEF. Shout out to NMU gym. And I would see everybody, they're on the elliptical, they're on their treadmill. And I'm like, this isn't for me. Fitness is just not my thing. But then when my mom bought us those DVDs, I was like, whoa, obsessed with this workout. It's fun. It's like hits of dopamine for somebody with ADHD, that workout was. And now that I think about it, Chalene Johnson is the creator of that workout program, and she has ADHD. So now this all is making sense why I was obsessed with that. So I got into fitness. My sister said, you got to read this book. And I read this one book that was into nutrition. I got hyper focused on that. I became a vegetarian, like, of course, always over the top, us ADHD girls. And so I was like, all in, I'm just doing it all. And now I've like, okay, now there's somewhere in the middle. Okay. But that's basically all or nothing, obsessed or not interested. That's just how we operate. So that was me my whole life. And again, going back to the health and fitness thing. Wow, got off track. Shocker. You guys are like, okay, let's get to the ADHD stuff. I'm going to tell you in this 2-part episode, not only what are the symptoms and some questions out, like all of that information about having ADHD, and maybe you're undiagnosed like I was. I wasn't diagnosed till 38 years old. I'm going to share with you some parts of the conversation that I had with my doctor at the Amen Clinic after going through a series of just, most doctors, they will test you on asking you questions and like never even looking at the organ of your brain, like the brain. And the Amen Clinic looks at everything. Like, you do testing and they look at the brain. So that's why it's amazing. I'm going to share that with you on this 2-part episode. And I'm going to share with you coping mechanism, like 10 ways that I have learned throughout the years, even when I was undiagnosed, how I cope with my ADHD, where I am been able to be a successful wife, a successful mother, successful business owner, and really just be able to handle everyday life, businesses, having multiple businesses. Like, most people, if they don't have knowledge about how to cope with ADHD, it's really hard. Everyday life can be hard. Like, I look at my daughter Lily, who's on the spectrum and has autism. It's not easy. There's certain things that have to be in place in order to have the most success for her and for you if you are an ADHD girly or ADD. So anyways, I understand. I just want to let you know that's what's coming, but I just want to give you like a little bit of background. So I understand why people were like, yeah, no, she's going to be over this in 2 seconds. But because I was hyper focused on it, and because I was very interested in health and fitness, and then I got obsessed after I got into that, and I got into starting my own business online through network marketing, through Body, aka Beachbody. And I was obsessed with it. And then I was obsessed with what I could do for other people. Like, that just blew my mind. Like, wait, so this is what it's doing for me. This is what it's done for my dad, who had gotten off his triglyceride medication because he was drinking Shakeology. Like, this is what it's doing for this person and that person. And then I was watching what the business side was doing for people's families. Like, I was watching people being able to pay off debt and quit their jobs and retire their husbands and just like all of these things. And then I got really interested in that. So there I was interested in all of these things. So if somebody actually took time to understand my brain and how I operate and how somebody with ADHD operates, they would have been like, oh, she's going to do some things. She's going to do great at this. But because nobody understood, nobody knew I had ADHD, I wasn't voicing how and we'll talk about this with coping on part 2, but like nobody knew, I didn't know, it was just like, how was somebody to know? And so, yeah, so that's kind of like my story with ADD, with, my backstory with ADHD. And so after got into starting my own business and being a mother and having that drive to provide for my family and be able to quit my full-time job and be a present mother and do all these things, that also got me very hyper focused. Remember what I said? The reward for like going to parties in high school, that would spark my interest enough to get good grades. And I would go from like a D to a straight A. My mom's like, just why don't you just always do this? Why? And no one understood because no one knew I had ADHD. So I was undiagnosed for 38 years. But throughout my 20s, after I started my own business, is when I really started to figure out coping mechanisms on accident. I really had the drive and determination to make this work, my business, for my son, because I wanted to build something so he could be proud of me. I wanted to be at home with him, be present with my family. I wanted all of these things. So the reward really was like, I got to figure this out. It inspired me and it pushed me to figure some things out. And what I've realized is that, hey, I can't remember anything. Literally anything. I need to write things down. I need to work off a to-do list. I need to set goals. So I'll get into all those ways that I learned how to cope before my diagnosis and after. But first, let's just talk about ADHD and ADD. Okay. So there's actually 7 types of ADD, where most people just like think it's just like one thing, but there's 7 parts of the brain that can make you have symptoms of ADHD. So again, we can get people with ADHD can get very hyper focused on things if they are interested in it. And if not, it is like painfully hard to get us to focus on something. If you have ADHD, one or both parents have it too. So it's like if you have it, you got it from one of your parents, maybe both of your parents. So basically, I got it from my mom. Shout out Patty Kinsella. You've been getting a lot of shout outs on the podcast, Patty, Pat Skins. Yeah, so I probably got it from my mom because my dad, and you know what? I got to say, my parents have really learned to talk to me because they call me, and my mom is a talker, where my dad kind of is just like, okay, short version was his thing growing up with 3 women. Short version, short version. And so my dad's just like, okay, are you listening? Are you focused? Okay, this is important. So just checking, are you actually listening? Like this is how my dad talks to me on the phone, because he knows that I'm distracted by things, or I'm on my phone, or I'm talking to a kid. So he's like, okay, I'm going to tell you something that you actually need to listen to. Are you focused? Are you listening? So that's how my dad talks to me. And then my mom on the phone, she'll be like, okay, I know that you hate talking on the phone. I know I only got a couple minutes of your focus. So just hear me out. I got to talk to you about this. And then towards the end, she can, I don't know, she can just feel my energy where I'm not responding as much. My brain's getting exhausted from all the information. Obviously, this is about something, like something that I have to focus on, and it's like exhausting my brain. And it's probably something I'm not interested in. That's probably why she's like, okay, you're not going to like this phone call, but you have to pay attention. This is important. So anyway, my mom has realized that, hey, I only got a couple minutes of her to focus on this. And she tries to keep the short and sweet with me and bullet points and stuff like that. That's just me. Oh my gosh. And let's not even get started on my husband. Actually, maybe we'll make this a 3-part episode and we'll have Joey share all the funny things that he has to deal with a wife with ADHD. I'm like, wait, you told me that? Did you put it in again, I'll tell you how we cope with this together as a family and a married couple. But it's really nice having a spouse, a partner that understands your brain. But the only reason Joey does is because I've explained it to him. I voice it. I explain to him, hey, I have ADHD, or I'm not available to hear that now. And I'll tell you all about that when I talk about coping. But it is very nice to have a partner who understands this. So maybe if you feel like after hearing this episode, I think I have ADHD, you might want to send this to your spouse, to have your spouse listen to this, understand your brain more. Okay, if you have AD, okay, you got it from both parents. Again, how I figured this out is just by researching all this information from my daughter Lily, who has autism, and like all of the things. I'm just like, I totally can relate to you, Lily. When doctors were saying something, well, she experiences sensory issues. I'm like, Dude, same. So that's what led me to realize that, hey, I'm not stupid. I don't have Alzheimer's. I'm not like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not broken. I'm not selfish. All of those things that I've labeled myself because I'm like, why am I like this? Why do I do this? Why am I late? How did I go to the store to pick up one thing and then a person called me, I got low on gas, and then I saw a different store that had something that I wanted. I buy that thing and I get back home and I don't have the thing that I went to the store to get. Do you know how many times that happened to me when my parents sent me to the store when I was younger? I'd be like, oh, shoot. I was supposed to get milk. Be right back. And they're like, are you like literally that was one thing on the list and you didn't get it? So immediately I would tell myself that I was stupid. I didn't have a good memory. My brain's broken. I have brain fog. I'm going to have Alzheimer's. Something's wrong with me. I just thought I was broken. Time out real quick. I want to talk to you about the Hyper Focus Journal. This is a journal that I've been gushing about on my podcast over and over and over. So something that I used to struggle with anytime I wanted to start something, whether it be a new workout program, a new business, whatever the thing is, I would always be waiting to feel motivated to start. When the reality is, what I've learned is that action creates motivation. So all you need to do is like literally take the first step. And the first step could be getting the Hyper Focus Journal and just starting slowly but surely creating that morning routine. You guys already know this about me, but I went from being broke, shy, insecure, on state assistance, working 50 hours a week away from my son, and just being completely stressed and overwhelmed in my life. And how I turned that all around was by changing my daily habits. And that is what you're going to get with the Hyper Focus Journal. There's no BS. There's no fluff. It's not going to take you a week or two to try to read the directions and figure out how to use the dang thing. It's very straightforward, to the point, and it gets the job done. This is the planner that you're actually going to use. With the Hyper Focus Journal, it's going to help you in so many ways. It's going to help you gain confidence, change your mindset, have peace and calmness, stop feeling so scattered daily, feel more accomplished, and get focused. Okay, let's just get to the point. What is this journal inside? So you're going to get my full goal setting system. It's a 5-step process. I'm telling you, the most basic step-by-step guide on goal setting that you've ever seen. And then you go into the daily pages, and on the daily pages, it's going to prompt you to do affirmations, gratitude. I'm going to teach you how to create and pick your hyper focus goals. And then you'll create a hyper focus to-do list and then just a regular to-do list every single day. It's going to keep you accountable. It's going to build those daily habits, and you're going to be able to 10x your goals. Oh, and last thing, it's really cute. There's 2 different covers to choose from. One is like this dreamy ocean vibe, and then the other one is like this very chic, bold, professional red. They are both 7 by 8.25 size. And what I love about that is it's big enough to use. It's not like a notepad, but also you can throw it in your purse. You know what I mean? So it's not too small, not too big. So you have that daily hyper-focused to-do list every single day, wherever you go. That is why I love the Hyper-Focus Journal. I made this for myself, and if you're like me, I created it for you too. So just head over to hyperfocusmentor.com and use the code OBSESSED at checkout to get free shipping off your order. Again, that's hyperfocusmentor.com and use the code OBSESSED for free shipping on your journal, and you can order yours today. And so when I started researching for Lily, that's when I realized like, hey, maybe I do really have ADHD, and maybe I should research more about this. And so after Lily had her spec scan years later, because parents, especially moms, we're always putting our kids first. So I'm like, I don't have time to worry about me. I'm helping my daughter Lily, and I'm setting her up for success, and I'm researching for her. But then to be a good mom and to be a good wife and be good at my business, I had to take some time out to schedule my own spec scan and my own treatment plan and worry about myself as well. Because if I want to show up as a great mom for my kids, I need to make time for me and work on myself as well. Okay, so it's a cluster of symptoms. Like, what is ADD? It's a cluster of symptoms. Number 1, Let's ask yourself if you've experienced any of these. Number one, and what's so great about people with ADHD, we can laugh about our symptoms. Once you realize like you're not broken, you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm the best. I'm so funny. That's silly that I forgot the milk, especially if your spouse can understand and they're not annoyed with you. Okay, number one, consistently, it's because we all have short attention spans sometimes, but if you consistently have a short attention span, unless you're interested, because then that's called hyperfocus mode, hence the reason why I created the hyperfocus journal, right? But if you consistently have a short attention span, that's one symptom. Two, easily distracted. Very easily distracted. It could be a sound, it could be somebody eating, it could be cars driving by, it could be all of these things, but you're just easily distracted. Number three, sensitive to the environment. So sensory issues. It could be how your clothes feel on your skin, a tag in your shirt. You can't, like, for me, like sometimes I even shower before I work out because I'm like, I don't like how I feel right now. And so my husband makes fun of me and we'd all just laugh about it. Well, because I'll work out I'll shower before a workout. And then later on I don't have to shower right after a workout, which is weird, but like I have to shower before, like before the rest of the day. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going anywhere after. Well, sometimes I do. That's a lie. But isn't that weird though? Like I can't work out because then I'll be distracted by how gross I feel or like just how I feel in my own skin during my workout. So sometimes I have to, I know this is weird. So you might not experience exactly what I just said, but you might experience something else that's sensitive to the environment, noises. If you listen to the pet peeve video episode, I think that was like a couple weeks ago, and I told you guys how people smacking their food literally sends me into like a rage state and I have to go like this and rub my ears, which I'm just rubbing my ears front to back. And it's just like, I just can't stand certain sounds, certain noises, certain feelings. Like, okay, I hope this is like Under Armour, don't come for me. And my brother-in-law Josh is the same way, but like Under Armour clothing, like that certain type of, oh my God. Ugh, I'm cringing thinking about it. But like those shiny, silky type of sweatshirts, like, ugh, throw it across the room. Don't like the feel of that. Now, let's take a time out there. So sensitive to the environment. Now, when you see as a parent or an adult, kids at Disney World, at the grocery store, at the park, you're coaching a kid's soccer team, coaching baseball, and you see a kid that could be experiencing sensory overload, before you just like, this kid is acting out and is a bad kid, which most people probably thought about me my whole life. I challenge everyone listening. This is a PSA. Let's just take a breath and get curious as to why the child is acting this way instead of just saying no parenting, no discipline, bad kid. Let's just start to think, maybe this kid can't pay attention when they're sitting on third base because they have a short attention span and they literally hurts their brain to pay attention for that long period of time. Maybe they're easily distracted. Maybe they're having sensory issues and right now they can't stand how this silky, stupid uniform feels on their skin. Do not get Under Armour. No, I'm just kidding. Oh my gosh, I actually have a jacket that I just got that is the cutest little thing to wear like when in the summer, spring or fall. It's like a windbreaker type. I'm probably like the sounding so lame right now, but it's like a thin like windbreaker type Under Armour jacket and it's like nude colors, which you guys know I love nude color. No, not nudes. Not nudes. I love like neutrals. That's the word. Neutral colors. No, don't be sending me nudes now. Okay. And it's really cute. And that doesn't feel like that. It's just a certain type of material. Is it like dry fit or something? Anyways, it's not just that brand. People chewing potato chips could send some, like that's a distraction and that's a sensitive to the environment. Not my fault. Born this way. Number 4, organization is hard. So I remember my mom and dad would be like, oh my gosh, your room is whatever. I'm like, dude, I know where everything is in this room. I know where everything is in this closet. But I had a hard time organizing. Still to this day, if you came to my house, you'd be like, oh, she's pretty organized. Look at this. Wow, she's pretty organized. that's a coping mechanism that I will teach. But I also like my sister Jackie, when I moved into this new house, she has the opposite brain of me. She definitely, well, she hasn't been diagnosed, but I think she has ADHD, just not my type, because she can come here and or maybe she's just been learned to cope with her ADHD since such a young age that now she's just master at organization. Because I bought all this stuff. Of course, we buy a new house and it's not like we had crap to move to the new house, right? I had to go buy new things because we had a house fire. So I'm like, okay, so I have this brand new house, brand new utensils, pans, silverware, all these things, but I don't know where do people put things in their kitchen? That's how my brain works. But I need it to be organized for my brain, but I don't know how to organize it because of my brain. Does that make sense? And so I need somebody to come and say, this is this place, because everything has to have its place for me. And once it does, then I'm organized. Because then I'm like, okay, this goes here, this goes here. And then cleaning my house and organizing my house is easy peasy. But and that's how it is for kids too that have ADHD. So if you're wondering why your kid just can't get it together and is just like a space cadet, I've heard parents call their kids space cadets, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was me. We just need to say, this is where this goes. This is where this goes. And then constantly remind them for like, I don't know, 7+ times. Like, don't forget, sandals go in your cubby. Don't forget, jackets go on your hook, just like they do in school for kids. It's very structured. It's very routine. Organization is hard for people that have ADD. It just doesn't come easy. So again, like I said, I have had my sister Jackie come over. She organized everything for me, told me where to put everything, helped me with all that. And then boom, nothing's been out of place since. Just kidding. But like for real, my house is pretty much clean, fairly clean daily. Now, I just side note, my son Hudson is 8. He's on the spectrum. We don't know, like, he's way different than Lily, but he's on the spectrum. And by the way, the spectrum is just so broad, like I said. So he for sure has OCD. He for sure has sensory processing disorder, and he for sure has ADHD. Now, if I get up and look at my phone he loves to work out with me. If I get up and look at my phone during a workout, and I'm not paying attention. Wow, shocker. I'm just telling you guys how easily distracted I am. So I'm looking at my phone and then I'm reading this and then I turn my head. He has my mat picked up. He has the weights put away and he's on the TV screen and fast forwarding the little blue line on I have a MYX fitness. Is that what it's from Beachbody, a spin bike with a TV. So I can do my Beachbody on demand workouts right on my spin bike TV, right? And so there's like a little blue line like you would see on an iPad of a kid watching the movie, and you have to like scroll it all the way to the end to end the video. So that's what he has to, if the workout isn't finished, he has to make sure it goes all the way to the end. And then he turns off the TV screen, then he turns it straight. And then he's like, let's go. I'm like, dude, I wasn't done with that workout. But that's how OCD he is. But he also has ADHD. So with that said, you can have ADD and also have OCD and be organized. So maybe that's what Jackie has. We'll have to have her on the podcast to talk to her. I've been trying to have her come on because that's another thing. She has ADD, but she's like extremely organized and great. She homeschools her kids and she's excels at that. Like I could never homeschool my kids because that's not something I could. And again, because I'm not interested in school work, I wouldn't excel at that because I would not be able to get hyper focused on that to be a homeschooler. We'll have her on for homeschooling tips and we'll have her on to talk ADD. Okay, so number 5, time blindness. Again, somebody may look at me and be like, no, you're like on time. You have your kids that there's things that on time. You're very reliable. You're, all those things, but that takes work. That's coping mechanisms that I've had to put in place to make me that person because I have to fight against the time blindness that I have. For example, yesterday I was working and I sat up in my office for, I still don't know how many hours, but I was so hyper focused on my work that I got up from my chair and I had no idea. It felt like 10 minutes, but hours had passed. I hadn't eaten. I had to go to the bathroom. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize I had to go to it's like you come out of a trance or something when you're hyper focused. So that's time blindness, as well as my perception of how long a task will take, or being distracted when I'm trying to get ready to get out the door. Then I see a shiny object, or I'm like, oh, I got to pick up the house, or oh, I got to fold this blanket. Oh gosh, forgot to change loads. So instead of pausing, and we'll talk about this in the coping episode as well, but instead of pausing and asking myself how I need to leave because I'm going to be late, I don't have time to do X, Y, and Z, or start a new project, or plant flowers outside my house, or decide to vacuum these things I don't have time to do. So don't start a new task if you don't have time to do that. So I guess I just don't. Time blindness is also, for me, I don't evaluate properly of how much time will take, which I am so lucky to be married to Joey because he is so good at this. So I actually, and you guys are going to be like, wow, your husband really really takes care of you. But that's why you need that. I feel like you need somebody to understand your brain and to be more structured and on time and all that stuff. If you are like, my dad is that for my mom. Okay. So time blindness could be all those things. But like I was saying, how Joey helps me is I will call him and be like, okay, I have to do this, this, and this. What time do I have to leave the house in order to get to do this? Like, for example, an away baseball game. I'm like, okay, so I have to work out, take a shower, and then the game's in Manistee. I'm just making something up, like a town. So what time do I, he's like, well, I would for sure make sure that you're completely ready by this time. And then you need to leave the house by this time because it's going to take you this long to get there. So if you leave the house at that time, you should be there 10 minutes early. That's what I need in my life, because I'd be like, oh, well, I'm good, because I don't analyze how long things take very well. If there's somebody that is married to somebody with ADHD and you're listening to this, you need to hear this, because now you can, I think, I don't know. I feel like people with ADHD, especially women who are undiagnosed, we are misunderstood. And I just hope that this will bring maybe some awareness and some understanding and maybe some compassion to realize that this is just our brain. So like if there was somebody in a wheelchair, you wouldn't be like, okay, well, here we go. Get out of your wheelchair and walk up the steps. No, you would say, okay, let's find the ramp. Not to compare the two, but you get what I'm saying. You would find a ramp, and that's how you would get into the building. Well, like if somebody's brain, like your organ, works a certain way, you got to try to deal with it in the way that works for them. Right? But also, people, if you're listening and you're like, I'm the one with ADD, I want you to know that you can't expect all these other people to understand how your brain works. And I'm going to go into that in detail on the episode, because in coping and explaining and voicing what your needs are and how you operate, and just explaining to other people, because I think for me, and I still am guilty of this, I get so mad and frustrated when I'm interrupted, when I'm trying to focus, because people don't understand how hard it is for my brain to really focus. And then once you interrupt me, it takes at least 15 to 20 minutes to get me back on track. Every single interruption. So when I work from home and I have kids running around and dogs, and I have tons of coping mechanisms that I'm going to tell you guys and share with you, because your life will change once you start learning how to cope with this, and ADD will become your superpower. But we do have to remember that not to get upset or mad at other people, because their brain doesn't work like yours. So we can't expect them to just know how our brain works differently, and vice versa. It goes both ways. And then number 6, impulsive. Blurts things out that you shouldn't. You overshare. Oh my God. This is why this podcast, I'm like, oh gosh, Joelle, edit that out. But we really don't do a lot of editing to the podcast. Like if there's dogs barking or a kid walks in. Well, actually Lane walked in on the pet peeve episode, and I'm just like, I'm not editing this out. It's real life. I feel like the more like I feel like we are just sitting down talking as friends about things. So I feel like why edit it? I hope you guys like that format better than highly or overly edited type of podcast because that's just not going to be me. Now you guys know why. That's how my brain works. But yeah, we can be oversharers. We can blurt things out. A lot of times I get home after like going to a social event or whatever, and I'm like, why did I say that? Why did I tell that person that story? Oh my gosh, did I really say that? Because we're impulsive. We blurt things out that maybe we shouldn't. And after we think about it, we're like, I shouldn't have said that. And it's not like for me, I don't say rude things. And also I've learned to cope with this for 39 years now. And so I'm hard on myself. The inner dialogue that somebody that has ADD and ADHD has. So like people think ADHD is hyperactive, but and this is how it is different from boys and girls. When I was a girl, like a young girl, it wasn't like I was running all over and like I couldn't sit still and I couldn't sit in a chair. It was more so my brain was hyperactive. And so my brain's never stopping. It's always going. And that's why sometimes I'm like, I'm so exhausted, mentally, emotionally, physically exhausted from my brain more so than like a workout. You know what I mean? Movement actually helps me. It really does help me. But yeah, so in young boys, you'll see that they can't sit still and that they are hyper in physical movement in their bodies. But in young girls or women, adults with ADHD, it's their thoughts. So I'm an overthinker already. My brain's busy, busy, busy. But on top of that, I've learned that I've have to reprogram myself. I was only diagnosed last year, but I have to learn to reprogram my thoughts of myself because a lot of times I'm like, why did I say that? I'm so stupid. I should have never said that. Why did I overshare? Why was I so impulsive and did that? But it's like we're hard on ourselves. But once you can understand your brain and not just who you are and how you operate and learn to cope with it and learn to use it as your superpower, then you just feel more confident and you give yourself grace. But being impulsive across the board is a symptom of ADD. Okay, you could be bad with money, you could make poor decisions, all of these things. So 7 things in the brain when left untreated, there's 7 things in your brain that could identify or like show you that you have ADD. And when they're left untreated, it can lead to things like addiction, more head injuries, more injuries, period, because you're impulsive. So you're making bad decisions, more Alzheimer's, you guys. So when I say you don't have Alzheimer's, you don't suck, you don't whatever, because we think, how do I not remember that? That happened yesterday. Did you ever feel that way? Well, when those things happen, it's because that's our brain, but that means that we can't leave our brains untreated. We need to do things to help our brains. It can lead to, did I already say addiction? More people, because again, you get obsessed with something and you get focused on something and you're impulsive. So you try and it could lead to addiction, more divorces. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Seriously, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Obsessed or Not Interested podcast. I love connecting with you on social media. So if you guys want, please shoot me a DM at either our podcast Instagram, which is at Obsessed or Not Interested, or even my personal Instagram, which is at Mindy Wender. I check them both, so either is fine. Oh, and truly, if this has helped you even 1%, if you could do me a huge solid and leave me a rating and review, that would mean the world to me. When you guys do that, here's why I really love it. It's because it helps the podcast be able to reach more women who want and need this. So truly, that is like the best compliment you could ever give me, is just leaving ratings and reviews for this podcast. Anything that I talked about in today's episode, any links or resources, you will find that in the show notes. Thank you for listening to today. Can't wait to chat more in the DMs, and don't forget to tune in next Tuesday.